the fee that pays for everything. Let's start with the part that actually makes Costco money. A basic membership costs $65 a year. An executive membership costs $130. Over 90% of members renew every single year without hesitating. That renewal rate is almost unheard of anywhere else in retail. Most subscription businesses would consider that number close to fantasy. Membership fees alone account for roughly 2/3 of Costco's total profit. Once the cost of printing cards and running customer service is covered, nearly all of it is pure profit. Costco brought in over $1 billion in membership fees in a single recent quarter. Every warehouse, every worker, every truck is largely funded before a single item is sold. The merchandise on the shelves is almost a separate business entirely. Executive members also earn a small cash reward on their annual spending. To max out that reward, a shopper needs to spend over $60,000 a year. Very few members ever hit that number, but the offer keeps the higher tier appealing. So you'd think Costco wants to charge you as much as possible. Every other retailer does. Sounds pretty obvious. It isn't how Costco actually works. Here's the part almost nobody understands about this business. Costco could raise prices tomorrow, and almost nobody would notice. It chooses not to on purpose, every single day. Most people think Costco sells discounted groceries and bulk electronics. It doesn't, not really. What it actually sells is a membership card, and the products are almost beside the point. This single idea explains almost everything strange about Costco's economics. You will see the fee, the cap, and the internal fight over a $2 hot dog. This is not really a story about warehouse shopping. It is a story about a company that built its entire identity on refusing to be greedy. Stay with me, because the discipline behind that choice shows up in some very small decisions. The 14% ceiling. Now here's the part that breaks every normal retail rule. Most stores mark products up between 25 and 50%. Costco caps its own markup at 14% on regular items. Signature private label products get capped at 15%. The company has openly stated it targets an average closer to 11% overall. This is not a temporary sale or a seasonal promotion. It is a permanent, self-imposed ceiling written into how the company operates. Merchandise margins across the whole business often sit below 2%. Almost every other retailer on earth would consider that number a crisis. For Costco, it is simply the plan working exactly as intended. The company has held this line for decades through inflation, recessions, and rising freight costs. Its private label brand, Kirkland Signature, now drives roughly a quarter of total sales. Buyers trust the label enough to skip name brands entirely, sight unseen. The trap of just a little more. Here's the trap hiding underneath this entire business. Once a company starts nudging prices up quietly, it rarely stops at just once. Co-founder Jim Sinegal compared the temptation to an addiction. He once said the pull to keep an extra few dollars per item never really goes away. Given once, and it gets easier to give in again the next time. Eventually, customers notice, even if slowly. Trust erodes long before the balance sheet shows any damage. A shopper who feels quietly overcharged rarely complains out loud. They simply stop coming back, and the company never learns exactly why. By the time the damage is visible in quarterly earnings, the trust is already gone. Costco built its entire identity on never testing that line. Every executive who has run the company since has inherited that same discipline. The hot dog nobody was allowed to touch. Meet the $2 hot dog and soda combo. Costco has sold at the same price since 1985. Adjusted for inflation, it should cost more than $4 today. In 2008, rising costs made the combo flatly unprofitable to keep selling. Meat prices were climbing fast, and the outside supplier kept raising its own rates. The company's next CEO raised the idea of a small price increase to leadership. Sinegal's answer left no room for negotiation. Touching that price was simply not going to happen, full stop. Figure out another way, he said, and hung up. Costco did exactly that. It stopped buying hot dogs from an outside supplier entirely. It built its own meat processing plants in Los Angeles and Chicago instead. Owning the entire supply chain removed the outside supplier's markup completely. The hot dog did not shrink to save money. It actually grew by 10% to a full quarter pound. Today, Costco sells around 150 million of these combos every year. It likely loses a small amount of money on every single one. That loss is not a mistake. It is one of the most effective advertisements Costco has ever run. Every member who buys one walks past thousands of dollars of merchandise to get there. The hot dog line becomes a small, recurring proof that the membership is worth keeping. The jeans that got cheaper on purpose. Here's a smaller story that says the same thing a different way. Costco once bought a shipment of designer jeans to sell at just under $30. Buyers later found a cheaper source for the exact same jeans. Most retailers would have quietly pocketed the difference as extra profit. Costco instead dropped the shelf price by $7 immediately. Senegal later explained the decision in blunt terms. Keeping that extra margin, he said, feels tempting every single time, given once, and stopping becomes almost impossible. That single habit, repeated for decades, is the entire strategy in miniature. No customer ever asked for that discount, and almost nobody would have noticed its absence. Neither story involves a product that matters much on its own. Both stories reveal a company that treats a discount as a promise, not a marketing gimmick. That kind of discipline is easy to describe and painfully hard to actually practice. Most companies talk about customer trust in quarterly reports. Costco appears to have built its actual pricing rules around it instead. The real math of not being greedy. In the optimistic scenario, a retailer keeps margins razor thin and builds trust for decades. Renewal rates stay above 90%, and membership fees quietly fund the whole operation. In the realistic scenario for most competitors, margin creep sets in gradually, one small increase at a time. Customers eventually notice, and loyalty erodes far faster than it was ever built. Costco's operating margin sits at a thin 3.6%. Almost every dollar of real profit comes from the card in your wallet, not the card in your hands. Revenue for the company recently topped $250 billion in a single year. Almost none of that scale would exist without the renewal habit built over 4 decades. Every competitor chasing higher margins is playing an entirely different game. The company never needed to squeeze every sale for more. It only needed you to keep renewing the card.